everybody. My name is Shane, and I'm the host of this very new show, Shane V Live, as we are kicking off the first episode today. On this show, we converse with people from the movie industry, and they share their own unique experiences. As time goes, we are looking forward to expanding the channel and working on different projects. Today is a very special day because we have a very talented actor with 29 IMDb credits who has been on The Sopranos, 9 episodes, 15 episodes of Boardwalk Empire, 24, The Wolf of Wall Street, and many more. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to welcome Chris Caldovino. Chris, how are you?
Shane, good to see you, my friend.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Of course. So, Chris, where are you originally from?
Well, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, in a neighborhood that was probably predominantly Irish and Italian.
Irish and Italian, wow. So, how did you get into acting and why?
Why?
The beginning of your acting career.
Still haven't figured out why, but
There's still time?
there's still time. Well, it's something I think I always wanted to do, but never realized it. I had this desire, but I never even kind of admitted it to myself. And a couple of friends of mine who were aspiring writers decided to take an acting class because it helps for writers with character and stuff. So they talked me into going with them, saying that you probably would be good at this, why don't you come, blah, blah, blah. So I went to an acting class in Manhattan, in Greenwich Village, actually. And I remember I did a monologue. I don't remember which one it was, but I went up and did a monologue, and I kind of blacked out. I don't remember anything.
Oh.
I walked back to my seat where my friends were, and I was like, oh man, how was that? They were like, it was really great. I'm like, no way. He goes, no, really, it was great. And I had no idea.
Wow, first
I didn't
time.
even remember. So I kind of caught the bug then, and I studied in New York. And a few years later, a friend of mine who was a writer came out to LA to pursue his writing career, and I followed, to pursue my acting career.
So, you have been on arguably the best TV show in history, The Sopranos.
Yeah.
How did that happen for you?
Well, make a long story short, like anything else, I had to audition, and I had done some things at that point, small stuff, and I got an audition for it, and I forget what the role was for, but I didn't get it. About a year later, I auditioned for another role. I think, if I could remember, damn, I wish I could remember which roles I didn't get, but I can't. I think it was my third or fourth audition, which I got was Billy Leotardo. But
Billy Leotardo.
The interesting part of that was the character was not Billy Leotardo when I auditioned and when I got it. The character's name was Billy Siracusa. So I'm working, I get hired, and I'm working first day with Frank Vincent. In fact, if you remember The Sopranos, it was the scene. My first scene is where we walk into the bar and he shoots Lorraine Caluso through the phone book. She didn't get killed. We didn't kill her.
Scared her real bad.
Scared her. That was my first scene in Sopranos.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
So, and again, I wasn't his baby brother. I was just some guy named Billy Siracusa. But what happened was, I think that name didn't clear through legal. In other words, someone had that name in real life, so then you can't use the name.
Oh, okay.
So one of the producers who was on set was now in the office with David Chase. When they found out that they can't use this name, Billy Siracusa. So the other producer said, well, I was on the set earlier today with Chris and Frank Vincent, and they look like they could be related. Let's make him his son. And then David Chase said, oh, you know what, let's make him his baby brother.
Wow.
And there you go. And then I got 9 episodes. If that didn't happen, I would have had 1 or 2 episodes, and that would have been it.
That would have been it. So,
out of luck, I became Billy Leotardo.
Out of luck, just because you look like Frank Vincent.
And because legally they couldn't use the other name.
Somebody else's name. You got to play Frank Vincent's brother. So, how did that make you feel when you got the role?
Jeez, I don't even know how I could explain it. It was probably the greatest moment of my life, absolutely.
I could only imagine.
Yeah, it's like, when you wish for something and it comes true, I mean, what else could you say,
there. So, now that you've been on the greatest TV show of all time, arguably, then you got into the Boardwalk Empire.
Right.
Another mob-themed
And that
you know.
was, and that was an amazing experience. And my personal favorite, as far as my acting and my work.
Yeah.
I got to do a lot of stuff on Boardwalk
Empire, so it was
that I
15
didn't get that
episodes.
much on Sopranos because I just started out. But Boardwalk was, I got because it was a lot of the same writers and producers and directors from Sopranos. It was
Same actors, too.
And a
Yeah.
lot of the same actors also. But the same creative team, pretty much, not except for David Chase. You know, he went off. It was Terry Winter, who was one of the main writers on Sopranos, broke off and then created Boardwalk Empire. Tim Van Patten, who was an amazing director who directs Sopranos, and he ended up directing Boardwalk Empire also. But the same thing, even though I was known, I still had to audition about 3 times. In fact, I think my first audition for Boardwalk Empire, believe it or not, was for Nucky's brother, the
Nucky
sheriff.
Thompson's brother, wow.
The sheriff,
A sheriff.
which I wasn't right for. So I didn't get that one. Then I auditioned to play Joe the Boss, the old mob guy.
Yeah.
I wasn't right for that one. Then there was another role there was these brothers from Philadelphia. In fact, the actor that played that role was on Sopranos too, Benny. He played Benny.
Benny. I forgot his name.
Yeah,
the actor's name.
he's a great actor.
But yeah, he
and
really
I
is a
can't think
good
of his name
actor.
right now. And I know the guy. This is going to be embarrassing. I can't remember his name. But anyway, he got that role. And then on the 4th audition was for Tonino, and I finally got it. And, you know, I met Bobby Cannavale at the table read. And we just hit it off from there, and we had a blast. I mean, and Bobby was with me. He was there the whole season, my whole first season, and then of course I had to kill him.
Like mob guys usually do.
You know, if anybody didn't see Boardwalk at this point, sorry, it's too late. But yeah, so and then I went on for 2 more seasons until I eventually got killed in a very interesting way, also by
Mr. Steve
Buscemi.
Yup, again.
Who,
We're about to talk about that right now.
Yeah.
So what was it like working with Steve Buscemi?
Well, it was great. It really was. Steve's a great guy, and you know, we know each other for years. And the funny story with that is that when I started on Boardwalk, he came over and said congratulations, and he goes, we got to make a deal here though. No reprisals. I'm killing you on Sopranos. And I said,
spoiler alert.
How am I going to get back at you? You're the star of the show. You just got to promise not to kill me again. But you know,
He broke his promise.
He broke his promise.
Yeah.
And then after the show ended, I said, "What happened? You weren't going to kill me again." He goes, "Oh, I didn't. My guy did." I said, "Yeah, but you ordered the head." I said, "Same deal. Not fair." So yeah, I got killed by Steve Buscemi twice. It was an honor.
Why wouldn't it be? I mean, and now maybe you could discuss the scene where he killed your character on The Sopranos, because that played such a big role in what happened in the show.
Oh yeah,
in the late show, that was like a big role.
My character got more famous after I died.
Yeah, way more famous. I mean, some people would even argue that it was the decision of the ending.
It could have
been.
Started the war. It started the war that caused the ending. Right.
It started the war.
It kind of did, which is an honor. But it was that shooting that episode. That scene was great. We actually shot that right in Little Italy on Mulberry Street.
Mulberry Street, yeah, I remember.
And they do it. They're such pros. And my little brother was there watching, and
Oh.
they did it so well that he got upset when I got shot, because it really looked like I got shot. Because you know they put the squibs on you, and you know they press a button, so when the guy fires the gun, the blood like shoots out from your shirt. It's like, I saved the shirt. I should have brought it into the show.
Oh, well, I could have worn it.
But yeah, that was an amazing experience.
You died in Frank Vincent's arm. He tried to shoot at Frank Vincent, missed,
Yeah.
you, and you died in his arms, which that must be an honor as well.
Oh, yeah.
Frank
No,
Vincent.
every minute I was on The Sopranos was an honor and a dream, and sometimes I don't even think it was real. That's how amazing it was.
It would be hard to, I mean.
Just to be there, like I was lucky enough to be on that set, and it's. In fact, I just been watching the show again. I hadn't seen it in years, and being older now, I appreciate it even much more. You know, it's a great show.
It's like some people say it's like a long 86 episode movie. It's like one movie.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that is exactly what it is, and it's a new form of television that The Sopranos pretty much invented. And it's called long form television, and that's why you have all the great directors now directing these kind of. You have Woody
TV
Allen
shows.
doing TV shows, Scorsese. I mean, they're all doing it, because what it is you're right. It is if it's a 10-episode show, it's a 10-hour movie. If it's a 15-episode show, you're right, it's a 15-hour movie. And it's a it literally is. And when you're working on these things, Boardwalk Empire, the same thing. You don't feel like you're doing a TV show. You feel like you're doing a movie.
Yeah.
Like, we do one scene, like one little scene around a table, like meeting scene, that would take maybe 2 minutes on screen. That would take 15, 16 hours to shoot that. Now, I did something like that recently. I shot an episode of a Tyler Perry show called The Haves and the Have-Nots.
I haven't heard of it. But I know Tyler Perry's
it's a
work.
nighttime soap opera, actually.
Yeah.
But I played a mob guy, but it was a huge scene, 5-page scene. 5 minutes on screen is a lot.
It is.
It only took us an hour to shoot it.
Yeah.
Because TV shoots like a soap opera really quick. But Boardwalk and Sopranos and things like that shoot like a film. Like the DP comes in and does the lights for an hour, and then you got to move the camera. He's got to set the lights up again. It's a very different process.
Because every episode had so much meaning. Every episode was
that's
just
the writing, yeah.
It's not just some TV show about mob guys.
It's not at all.
Not at all. It's personal relations. And
if you really look at The Sopranos, it's about a guy who's in the mob who really didn't want to be in the mob. That's really what that was the whole dream things at the end. His dream was that he was like a lawn furniture salesman. You know, he wanted a regular
Played sports
life.
too.
He didn't want to be a gangster, and that's the interesting part of it. Is Sopranos deals with real life and people having to deal with their fate, whether they like it or not.
So I was always so worried about his son because he followed his father's footsteps, and he didn't want him to end like that because he always saw himself in his son, which always made him very mad.
And the other thing too, he felt with his son's case that his son wasn't strong enough to get into that world. That's why he didn't want him to too, because he felt that he wouldn't survive in that world. And it's an interesting perspective for a character on a TV show to have. You're in a world, your nephew or cousin Christopher but you don't think your son could survive that world, so you keep him out of it.
And he was such a good actor
too.
You
know, the writers on The Sopranos were the greatest writers. I mean, every great show today, all those writers started out on Sopranos. You know, Matt Weiner went on to create Mad Men. Terrence Winter went to create
Boardwalk Empire
and wrote Wolf of Wall Street. Every writer that worked on that show went on to create their own amazing show later. Because then give credit to David Chase for knowing how to find these talented writers, and that's why The Sopranos is what it is. It's the writing more than anything else.
Oh yeah, that's what every actor who's been on The Sopranos, they say, what is one thing that's different about the show? What made the show so special? They always say the writing.
Oh yeah,
it's the writing.
And as an actor, if you could just read those words from those writers, that's all you need to do. You don't need to really put too much into it. Just read those words and understand what they meant, and you got it.
That's it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the legend who sadly passed away about a year and a half ago, Mr. Frank Vincent. What was it like working with the iconic Frank Vincent?
It was that was another dream come true. That's all I'm saying. Everything on The Sopranos was almost surreal. You know, me and my friends were huge Goodfellas fans when we were young, and we watched it hundreds of times. You know, I watched Raging Bull. I was an usher in the movie theater when I was a kid when Raging Bull came out. I remember seeing it constantly.
Something else.
And from Frank Vincent was from Raging Bull. He played Salvi.
Yep.
And then on to Goodfellas, and you know, we all used to do his lines all the time.
Easy Money
and stuff, and Easy Money.
And
then when I meet him, I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing this guy's lines since I'm a kid.
I'm his brother. He loves me.
And he was one of a kind. He was a really amazing actor, and he was a real. Technically, he really knew what he was doing, and you would never know because you just think, you know, but he was a real pro, man. He taught me a lot of stuff about being on a set, not just acting stuff, which he did, but the technical stuff about how to, be on a set and, what not to step on and who is who and how to carry yourself. He really gave me a really good education.
And he wasn't only very proficient with acting. He wrote a book on How to Be a Man.
Yeah.
So Frank Vincent wrote a book.
Yeah.
I haven't read it, but it really must be something.
I actually didn't read that one.
No.
And him and Joe Pesci were very good friends. They kind of came up together. They were pals. They
New Jersey, I think.
Yes, they both, and they were friends with Frankie Valli also. In fact, Frankie Valli worked on Sopranos too.
Oh yeah, he was Rusty.
Rusty, and I became very friendly with Frankie also for a while. But I can remember just being on the set and Frankie Valli and Frank Vincent just like they're old friends since they're young, and they're just like breaking each other's chops and goofing on each other. And, and I'm just sitting back like, oh my God, these guys are like me and my friends, but they're just like these legends. You know.
I mean, it's so because I don't know if you've heard this. Joe Pesci and Frank Vincent used to have a band together.
Oh yeah, I saw the pictures.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen those pictures. Frank Vincent was a drummer.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Well, you know your stuff, my friend.
Definitely.
You know your stuff. Oh yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe do you have since we're talking about it, maybe a memorable story about Frank Vincent? On set or anywhere.
Well,
I'd like to share.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I could think of is it shows you, like, you know, it might not be the greatest story, but we were shooting. It was the day that we shot the scene where I actually killed Lorraine. Mm-hmm. It was a location in Brooklyn, some house in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. We're shooting in, and we're hanging out outside in between takes, and I don't know. Frank was, you know, was a little ornery that day, I guess. And there's people across the street. There's these young guys, teenagers across the street, and you know they see Frank and they start saying, "Hey, go get your shine box, go get your shine box." Frank's not saying anything, and they just keep going and going. And I could see Frank starting to get like a little agitated. So he just turns and he goes, "Now tell your mother to get a shine box." And he yelled at them, right? And they were like.
That must have made their year.
They loved it. Yes, they loved it. They all like, yeah. But and then he just turned around and walked away, and that was it.
Wow. So, this question may be a little hard just because of how tragically James Gandolfini died. Maybe James Gandolfini is one of the reasons that I might be sitting in front of this camera today because. Like, I didn't get into movies and acting and directing and cinema till, surprisingly, I saw a TV show, actors acting. He was something else, James, and off the camera, too.
He was great. He was a great guy, and he was a great actor.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I have a few stories. I mean, Jimmy was, he's the type of guy that, like, everybody loved him. I mean... he was just generous as an actor and as a person too. Like he would buy gifts for all the crew at the end of the season, like expensive gifts, watches and stuff, and spend thousands and thousands of dollars. Just how he was. And he was big. He was a big guy.
Oh,
I'm not small, but
you're not small
I stand
at all.
behind him. You couldn't see me. He was a big guy, about 6'2", maybe, and like wide.
Yeah, he was wide.
Big guy. He played football in college too.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, one time we were at some, it was an Emmy party or a premiere party of Sopranos, and you know, I always mind my business. You know, I don't like putting my nose in places too much. And Jimmy was talking to a bunch of people. He was circled by about 10, 12 people. Everyone was like trying to talk to him and stuff. And so I'm walking by, and I kind of like squeeze by because you know I'm trying to get around to go to the other side of the place. So I see Jimmy, and he looks at me, and I just go, "Hey, Jim," like that, you know, and I keep walking. I don't want to bother him because. So all of a sudden, I don't even know, out of the crowd, a giant hand comes out and just grabs my arm and pulls me into this crowd. It was Jimmy. So he goes, "Don't ever walk away from me like that." He goes, yeah, stay here, because I'm trying to get away from these people. You know? So like he's like, well, let's go talk about that. He was just like, you know, and then we just walked away out of the crowd. He goes, "Thanks, buddy." Like, I got him out of this like circle of people that he didn't want to be in. He was kind of shy. Like he didn't.
Really?
Yeah.
He doesn't look like a shy person at all. When you
Well,
look at
I mean,
him, you know?
I wouldn't, maybe not shy is not the right word, but
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't. He's the type of guy. Maybe he didn't feel like talking. He didn't feel like talking. You know,
he's
like,
not Tony Soprano. He was different.
Yeah,
you
of
know.
course. You're right. Right. Good. You're right. That's the good way to put it. And another time, we shot a scene. There was a big funeral, Joe Peep's funeral.
Oh yeah, Joe
And,
Peeps. And they wrote the
tombstone.
They
They put the tombstone.
they put Peeps.
And they put me in this really great Armani suit, and it looked like it was custom made on me. So I remember at one point, Jimmy comes in and goes, "Is that your suit?" And I'm like, "No, it's wardrobe." He goes, "Man, that suit really looks good on you. Take it home." I'm like, "No, I'll get in trouble. I can't go. Don't worry about anybody." I said, "Jimmy said to take it home." So I said, "All right," but I didn't take it home. I didn't want to get in trouble, but I should have. I really wish I did. I wish I did. No, I didn't.
It's fine. You got a lot more out of it than a suit.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Just knowing the guy was,
of course,
was worth 100 suits.
Of course.
More.
So, who was an actor that you looked up to and that inspired you in a way, if you have one? Or
well, I have two. I have more than two, but I have a few. But my two main ones, I'll say, Brando.
Marlon Brando, of course.
One of the, to me, is, I think he's one of the greatest actors.
Created
ever.
method acting.
He did. He changed acting. He changed acting forever. And De Niro was a product of Brando, and so is Pacino. I mean, if you watch The Godfather, it's interesting because you have all these young, hot actors, and they're literally acting with Zeus, you know, and you could see every scene that they're all in, Pacino or, you know, Duvall or James Caan. When they're in a scene with Brando, they are popping on every cylinder. And the interesting thing is too, if you watch Brando, he's so generous. He's giving them everything they need. And I was watching it again, you know, now being older, I'm like, wow, what an honor to work with that guy. But yeah, Brando's the great. And of course, you know, De Niro. I mean,
Robert De Niro.
You know, like I said, I was an usher in a movie theater when Raging Bull came out.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I'm like, that's what I want to do. And I got a chance to tell him exactly that.
So that movie was something else. The
Raging Bull
De
to
Niro's
me, I
acting.
think was, to me, as far as I'm concerned, Raging Bull is Scorsese's masterpiece. I think it's his best one.
I consider all of his movies masterpieces.
They all are, of course.
Yeah.
You're right. But if you had to pick one, if I had to pick one, I pick Raging Bull.
For some reason, I don't know why, I like Casino.
Casino's great. They're all great.
They're all great. They say, you don't like Goodfellas? And I'm like, I just like Casino. He's like, come on, man. Goodfellas.
You know, it's funny because different people of different ages, like you're obviously a lot younger than me, so you like the later stuff. And it's funny, it depends, like, I like the earlier stuff because that's when I was my first, that was my entree into it, you know, when you know, I haven't watched Casino again lately. I'm going to, now that you mention it. I'm gonna rewatch it because, you know, yeah, well, look, they're all great. I mean, Mean Streets. I don't know
Mean Streets, of course.
You've seen Mean Streets, of course you have. But not many people your age have seen Mean Streets.
No, they have
not. But they should, because they'll understand.
Of course, that's what real cinema.
What independent filmmaking was supposed to be. That was the beginning of it. That's really what it was.
John Cassavetes.
Cassavetes actually was Marty's mentor.
Yep.
He mentored Marty. He actually helped him get Mean Streets going. Actually, Scorsese did a movie before Mean Streets called "Who's That Knocking at My Door?"
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, that one you got. It's interesting.
Who's That Knocking at My Door?
Yeah,
even before Mean Streets.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. De Niro's not even in it. It's Keitel. De Niro hasn't even.
Oh, Keitel's in it.
Keitel's in it. And a couple other people. Well, if you watch Mean Streets, Keitel's the star, not De Niro.
No, it's not De Niro. It's Keitel, and then David Provo.
David Provo, I got to meet also. And
you got to meet David Provo.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, he was on Sopranos also.
Of course, yeah. Richie Aprile.
Yeah, I met him a few times, but he's a character.
You could tell. Like Uncle Junior once said, he's got tremendous moxie for his size.
He really does. He's a funny guy.
David Provo. Wow.
No, you really go deep. You know all these guys.
Oh yeah, this is my life.
That's interesting. I'm very impressed.
So, what was your favorite memory you had from working on The Sopranos? Maybe we already discussed things about The Sopranos before, but maybe like a scene or on set. There's too many, huh?
I tell you, I really couldn't pick out one thing. You know, it was like I said, every moment there was like a dream. So, and every moment I was there, whether I was standing around doing nothing or had a line, or I was just over the moon.
Especially because it was like one of your first.
It was my first big. I mean, I had done things before that, but my first like major thing.
Major thing was The Sopranos, and you're there with all those actors, and
what I got from it was like going to acting school and college and everything. All that. I mean, I was on that show for a whole season. I learned more in that time than any other time
For acting?
for acting, because it was, you know, you're thrown into the mix with all these amazing writers, directors, and actors, and you know you have to know what you're doing. You have to, you know.
Definitely do, or you can't do it. There's no way.
Yeah.
Did people ever recognize you while especially during that time?
Yeah,
They
sure.
did.
Yeah, a few times. Yeah.
That must be really cool.
Yeah, even still today with Sopranos.
Oh yeah, because Sopranos is never gonna, you
Yeah.
know, die out. I mean, people are still always gonna remember you and your work. So, how is it like working with? Because let me mention this before. You have worked with Martin Scorsese and David Chase. So, how is it like working with David Chase compared to Martin Scorsese? What were the differences between the
there's
two?
huge differences. The major differences, their job descriptions. David Chase is a producer-writer, and Marty's a director. David Chase really wasn't on the set of Sopranos. Well, same thing if you go back, you go forward to Boardwalk Empire. Terrence Winter really wasn't on the set that much. He was upstairs writing in the office, writing the episodes, and running the business of running a show. And he had directors that were, you know, downstairs on the floor in the studio shooting it. And David Chase, you know, had directors and producers, and had maybe said one thing to David Chase, maybe said one thing to me the whole year I was on the show. Was my last day. He walked over and said, "Thank you very much, you did a great job." And that was it.
That's it.
That was it.
Wow. And what about Marty?
Marty, being on Marty's set is, that's an interesting thing.
He's an actor with you. He's like an actor.
Yeah, just
acting?
he's just constantly moving and doing things and talking to people, and like you just got to be like really alert and know what he wants. But again, you know, he's an interesting guy. I was just observing him, you know, more than as much as I can, just you know, because you know, it's
like
Scorsese.
living legend. I created cinema in a way, like modern cinema. Well, not modern, but like
well, he was a big part of what I call the Renaissance.
The Renaissance,
of cinema, which was in the 70s, and it was funny because you know the Italian Renaissance, but the Renaissance in film really was. It was Coppola, Scorsese, De Niro, Pacino. It was kind of an Italian Renaissance,
it was.
And Scorsese was one of the main people who ushered that in. Sure.
Yeah, he definitely had a lot to do with cinema in general, and his style was like no other style. He was one of those directors that loved improv, didn't he? He loved actors went to improv.
Yeah, but the improv had to work.
Yeah.
Like you would do the improv in rehearsal from and then they would shoot it. It wouldn't be straight up improv. Well, because you can't trust the actor to know the story. You might say something that's diverting the story if you throw something in. You got to be careful with that.
But I heard the very infamous scene of Robert De Niro, "You Talking to Me," that scene was all improv.
Yeah.
He did that all by himself.
In Raging Bull.
Taxi Driver. Taxi Driver. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Sure, that's a different. It's not in a scene. It's not interacting with another character. So it's him in the mirror, and he probably said, "Just go." And they probably shot that for hours. Knowing Scorsese, they shot that scene for hours, probably, until they got that one little thing.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I would say yeah.
Then you actually got to work with Martin Scorsese. Then you were on The Wolf of Wall Street. You were Rocco.
Yeah, and actually all my lines on Wolf of Wall Street were improv lines. I didn't have any scripted lines.
Really?
So all the things I was saying, I made, yeah. But we rehearsed it and then shot it, you know.
Yeah. And coming from a successful actor, what advice would you give to young people who want to get into the acting and, movie industry?
Decide what what part of the business you want to be in. If you want to be an actor, the first thing you have to do is go get trained. Training is the most important thing. And I don't mean going to a cold reading class for 6 months. I mean going to a scene study acting class that you're learning a method for a number of years. And at least as many years as it takes to get a college education, which was 4.
4 years.
Anything less than that, you're not going to be able to sustain yourself in this business with the level of talent that's out there today, especially with long-form television and all these new shows. And you have the greatest directors alive directing television. And the acting is, if you watch certain things and certain other things, you could see a big difference in the writing and the acting and everything. And, you know, depending, you know, where you want to take your career, you need to be well trained because, like anything else, if, you know, you're a good-looking kid and you know all this stuff, and I'm sure you could do a great, you know, scene in anything. But when you walk into a professional's office and you speak to them, even you do a great job, they know your training, they know how much training you have, they can tell. Just like in any other field. If you were a lawyer and some guy said, oh yeah, I'm a lawyer, I did this, I did that, I won this case, that lawyer knows you're bullshit, and he knows if you have, you know, if you went to law school.
My cousin Vinny.
Yeah.
That scene.
It's the same thing like anything. Like, I bartended for years, okay? And I managed bars and clubs and stuff, and if someone walked into me and said, oh, I bartended here and there, and they had a whole line of stuff that they made up, I could tell in 3 seconds how long they've been bartending, no matter what their resume says, because I could just tell.
Yeah.
Same thing with an actor. If you walk in to audition for something that you're lucky enough to get into, make sure you're not wasting the people there's time, or else they won't see you again. And yours, of course.
So this is great. This is some great advice to anyone who wants to get into acting, that you need to be trained. I know you guys hear that a lot of people, you know, they just become actors without ever going to acting school. Well, that doesn't usually happen.
I can tell you, I've
a professional
trained with my acting teacher. His name is Robert DeVonzo. He's still around, a great teacher and a friend.
Yeah.
I probably studied with him, all in all, I would say at least 8 years.
8 years, wow. That's more than
college.
college.
And I took breaks in between, you know. I went to other acting schools in between, but I always went back to him. It's not bad to do that sometimes, but it's not to be taken lightly.
Yeah, you know, it's a serious career. You know, it's not a joke. It's not for fun. It's a profession.
And it's work, you're right. If you're on a set and you're tired and you did the beginning of the scene where something bad happened 3 hours ago, and now you have to have the reaction. You just had lunch, you took a nap, whatever it was, somebody died or whatever it is, hours ago. Now you got to make it like it just happened. You need training for that. You need to know how to act. You need to know how to recall emotions, which comes with training. You know, there's methods for this. And of course, there's natural talent is a big part of it, like anything. But
yeah. So, any upcoming films or projects that you're currently working on?
Well, I just finished.
Recent years?
Yeah, sure. I just finished a movie over the summer called Made in Chinatown.
Made in Chinatown, yeah.
It's a comedy, mob kind of comedy thing.
Seen it. I've seen, you know, things about it.
Yes,
like with Vincent Pastor.
Yeah, Vincent Pastor is in it, and Tony Darrow, and some of the other guys from Sopranos, Paul Borghese, and that was a lot of fun doing that. It hasn't come out yet, but I think it's going to be out soon. And I have something else that's in the works, possibly a new show. I can't say much about it, but it'll be from the same creator of Boardwalk Empire. So
wow.
You could bet it's going to be amazing.
I'm really excited to see that one.
I can't say much, but when I can, I'll come back and talk to you about it.
Of course. I'd love to have you back anytime.
Sure, buddy. I'd love to come back.
Well, this has all in all been a great conversation between me and Chris Caldovino. Thank you very much for making this a great episode, and thank you to the audience for tuning in. And I'm looking forward to do many, many more of these. And this is just the beginning of this journey. Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Pleasure's mine. Can't wait to come back.
Thank you.